That is also correct. That is why it cannot be like 10-15 मिनट में हम जीत के आ गए, यूक्रेन हमारा फिर तो
I
इंडिया
agree.
चाइना का, पाकिस्तान हमारा, ऐसा नहीं होता.
Like what I like from my understanding, मतलब मुझे क्या लगता है that basically Russia thought that Ukraine is a easy target, like not that easy, but like Russia basically thought that we will go with all our weapons and power and they will basically give up at some point. But see, it has been like what, 20 days, I guess, and the war is still on, the conflict is still going, and people are not actually giving up. So, and also there is a thing about the West, you know, that when some people, especially white people, are at a problem, the whole US and the UK, the NATO, everyone is supporting Ukraine. But see, when it was about Afghanistan crisis, they didn't. When it was about Israel-Palestine crisis, they didn't support that much. Like here is where the bias comes, and it is not so much relevant to this topic of discussion, but what I'm saying is Ukraine, like Russia and Ukraine war, because it is a white conflict. Like people of that particular race are having a war, and that's why they are getting the whole support from the West. But when the same thing happened in Afghanistan, and when the same thing happened in Israel, Palestine, the people were also dying. The people were also seeking refuge, but no one, gave them a hand of help or something. So it is also, I think, that a thing that we need to discuss further, that irrespective of religion, irrespective of race, irrespective of from which region you belong, every people deserve to actually have that humanitarian aid within themselves, in the times of worst conflicts and wars. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. I'll expect some Wongsters to speak further now. And after that, we can move ahead with a proper, verbatim wala discussion as planned.
Going on what Ishka said, don't you think Russia must have had a lot of time planning out the war, even though it's not winning the war as easily as it expected to, but pretty sure it had quite a lot of time preparing for it.
Go ahead, Wongsters, Gauri, Nuba, and who else is here? I guess Nuba isn't here. She was,
Avisha just said something regarding that only. So I think she meant that she wants to say that it was a long planned conspiracy and it just didn't happen in one day. And Russia was preparing for this whole thing. Like the war wasn't a one day work.
Yeah, that's the guy. Sorry, man.
May I voice out a little bit, Asta?
sorry, sir. So actually, I made you the host.
Yeah, no, but you are the one who's moderating it, no?
Yeah, sir. I'm really sorry. I was actually telling you about that host thing. Never mind. So yeah. So guys, now what we will do is, I believe that you don't have yet some substantial information about this conflict. So I will request that 10 minutes के लिए go and research थोड़ा सा, meeting में ही रहो, but do your research a bit and then prepare a 1 to 1.5 minutes ka stance, what you want to say. You don't have to make a special speech or something. Just understand the thing. Say what you have understood, analyze it, कि कैसे कैसे हुआ है, and just go give it a try. ठीक है? We are not perfect, and you don't have to present something. Sure, sir. Go ahead.
So I think whatever you need in the next 10 minutes, वो कुछ एक व्यू पॉइंट देगा, कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव नहीं होगा, बस ये इशू काफी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव है, अपने में ये काफी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड इशू है, and it's representative of where our society is today. Nothing happens out of the blues. There have been a sequence of actions, sequence of things that have happened, which have led the world to be where it is. Um, why did why for so many years nothing of this sort has happened? So if I'm comparing this with what has happened in Syria or Afghanistan or maybe Vietnam, is not appropriate. I don't know if you guys know the reasons of the war in Vietnam. Um, why Vietnam happened? Yeah, anybody?
Please repeat what you asked. I could not hear.
Why did Vietnam happen? The Vietnam War. Why did that happen?
The US.
Yeah.
So I am not sure, but I think it was an attempt of US so that it does not turn into a communist country.
Yeah. So a lot of these wars, so far, including the one in Afghanistan, the whole issue of terrorism in Afghanistan has happened because of communism versus capitalism. The whole fear of one sort of philosophy, one ideology to take over the world, and which actually meant that that particular power center, that particular set of people became the power center of the world, and there has been a constant power struggle worldwide. Actually, this is something very interesting that somebody wrote, that war is actually another expression of politics. What is happening is actually politics. It's what people would want to happen, and because it's not happening in a normal way, they are trying to force it, through politics. So it's just politics, to assert control. So what happened in Vietnam was also at the time that the Cold War was, was at its peak. And they wouldn't fight war with each other anymore, or there was no risk of them. But there was this idea about what kind of power centers that each of these countries or powers control. How much of the world became communist, how much of the world became capitalist, and North Korea, South Korea, Vietnam, even Afghanistan. First Russia came in, started to occupy some territory, and then America came in, and then they tried to thwart that thing by militarizing the localists to fight against them. And this is also an extension of that, with what NATO has done over the last some time in, first catalyzing the breakup of the USSR, making it shorter, and so many other countries have come about, and then converting most of those countries into becoming NATO allies. So it is in a lot of ways about marginalizing. It is about diminishing the whole importance and the position that Russia has had, the place that Russia has in the world politics, the world stage, and the fear was real. There are so many people in Ukraine who say that there was no choice. We would have joined NATO. We were going to join NATO. We are still going to join NATO while this whole negotiation is happening. To some extent, I think what Asta is saying is also right, that why that this whole white supremacy thing which is happening, which is being reflected in this war, how some of these countries are saying here are two countries, two white countries, two civilized countries, fighting each other as if the other countries, they don't belong to the civilization. So there are many, many interesting things that have come about in this war. But I think it's also very important to see it from the point of view of Russia, as much as it's important to see it from the point of view of America. So media everywhere is very biased. This is another thing which I think we should all recognize, that what we hear, whatever you're going to go and do research on the internet, is all going to be the English language, and most of the English language is going to be, what America wants us to think, or what the West wants us to think, and very few of them are going to be, more looking at both the sides, more balanced. Um, and of course, the Russian media is going to be looking at only the Russian side and not the other side. So, but to be able to appreciate things from both the points of view and to understand what the nuances are, where it's very easy to take a very polarized view, and say this is what they should have done and this is what they should not have done. But that's pretty naive. Unless you actually understand that there is a certain balance, which is there, and how do you dance in that balance? Then you're able to actually appreciate what's happening out there, what could have happened, and the nuances. That's where I think I would want all of us to look at, and not, blindly that this is good and that is bad. That's not how things are.
I totally agree, sir. Yeah, so like
Yes.
whatever sir said is that like there is no right or wrong. Everything has a reason for what it is happening, and it's all about how we see that thing. Like it's not like we are supporting Ukraine or we are supporting Russia. It's like what is best for the world, and what is best for the civilians. And we are here as people and human beings, and for us what matters is not who invades Ukraine, or who has the power over whom. What matters for us here is how are the lives of millions of civilians are going to be saved, and what is the role of India in doing that. You must have known that India actually paused the war for like 8 hours, and that is the power of our foreign policy. That our relations with Russia is so strong that just by one complaint in United Nations, and Russia stops the war for 8 hours, and the civilians are getting evacuated from that place. So that is the thing that is like we need to analyze that what is India's stance in this, what is good for this world, like how what are your beliefs and what are India's beliefs, plus looking at the point of view from both Ukraine side as well as from Russia's side without being biased. So I guess that sums up. uh, Tell me, Wongsters, do you need some time for to prepare what you want to speak, or you want to go ahead with it, like within 5 minutes or something? Whatever you say, because we are here to have a fruitful discussion, and it's all about understanding. So even if we have to give you a few minutes to, understand the topic, it will be all right. Gauri, Avisha.
After the meeting is about to end, I guess.
Sorry. Yes, Ishuja?
Only 1 minute is remaining in the meeting.
Okay. Let's say if the meeting ends, join from that link again. I will be here waiting. Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
The problem is we would have been using Nitin sir's link, but then I thought that sir might be busy on like the festival, so I thought that let me share my own link.
So the way to do it next time is, Asta, you can just create your own link. That's what they did during the Long STT event. Instead of just using my meeting ID for which I would have been required to log in, you could just create another meeting ID and password and use that from my account. Next time, do that.
Got it. Next time, so we will keep it. I'll keep it in mind.
Please join again.
Guys, let's rejoin again. I will be waiting here.